You fall into that nightmare soup at 2 in the morning and you get that black water on you, and there's things going up your pants. There are insects in the water. There are tarantulas walking on the water, eating the frog.
A state lawmaker says he wants to ban human-animal hybrids in Mississippi, and it's raising some eyebrows at the Capitol.
The woods have always been a place of mystery, and sometimes there are eerie secrets haunting those dark paths beneath the trees.
I hope I'm not getting lost here.
With different abandoned structures and strange, unexplainable objects, the woods are home to some of the most bizarre discoveries ever made. Ready to uncover what lurks in the tree's shadow? Here are 20 of the creepiest things people have found in the woods. Many of them will make you think twice before venturing out alone. Number 20. Deadly traps. In April 2012, a routine patrol in the dense woods of Utah quickly turned creepy for U.S. Forest Service officer James Schufler. He was patrolling a scenic hiking trail, surrounded by the usual tranquility of nature. But as he walked deeper into the forest, something caught his eye. Something that should not have been there. A thin wire was stretched between two trees, barely noticeable to an unsuspecting hiker. At first glance, it seemed harmless, but curiosity led him to follow the wire, only to discover a carefully crafted trap. The tripwire was connected to a ball of sharpened sticks and rocks, suspended in the air. This was no mere prank. Had anyone triggered that wire, the trap would have released the lethal ball, sending it crashing down with terrifying force. Schufler's quick thinking saved what could have been a deadly incident, but the horror didn't end there. Upon closer inspection, he found a second trap near a small deadwood shelter along the trail. This one was far more sinister. A bed of sharpened stakes concealed beneath the earth, waiting for someone to stumble into it. The stakes were positioned upright, with another tripwire ready to send an unsuspecting victim tumbling onto them. Schufler called the police, and an investigation was launched immediately. Interviews with hikers soon led to an unexpected discovery: 2 teenagers. They admitted to setting up the traps, but claimed they were intended for animals. However, the police weren't convinced. These traps were far too complex, and the location, so close to a well-traveled trail, suggested a different target. Had it not been for Schufler's keen observation, an innocent hiker or even a child could have fallen victim to this chilling setup. Number 19. Mistaken Cannonball. Matt Bell and a coworker were deep in the woods of Danville, Arkansas, working on an excavation project when they came across something unusual. Buried in the ground was a heavy 32-pound round ball. Matt assumed it was an old cannonball, possibly from the Civil War. Thinking it could be a neat historical artifact, he took it home to clean it up. He used a pressure washer to scrub off the dirt, revealing more of the object's surface. Satisfied with his work, he set the ball on his counter and snapped a few pictures, eager to share his discovery. The next day, Matt decided to take the object to a Civil War museum to confirm its authenticity. That's when things took a chilling turn. Museum experts informed Matt that this wasn't a cannonball at all. It was, in fact, a pressure-activated landmine from the Civil War era, and it was still active. Realizing the danger, Matt called the police immediately. The situation was so unpredictable that 20 homes in the area were evacuated. A bomb squad carefully transported the explosive to a landfill where it was safely detonated. Reflecting on the ordeal, Matt remembered how his coworker had casually tossed the mine to him when they found it, and how he had washed it without a second thought. It was pure luck that this ancient explosive didn't detonate during all that handling. Number 18. Explosive trail cameras. In 2016, a man was walking along a private forest trail in Harlan County, Kentucky, when he noticed something unusual on the ground, just slightly off the trail. It was a trail camera, a common sight in these woods. Trail cameras are typically used to monitor wildlife, as they are motion-activated and often equipped with night vision. This one, however, seemed abandoned. It had no memory card or batteries. Thinking little of it, the man took the camera with him and later handed it to a friend. When his friend inserted batteries into the camera, an explosion went off immediately. The camera was rigged with explosives, designed to detonate as soon as the batteries were installed. The blast was severe enough to blow off some of the man's fingers and cause injuries to his stomach. Authorities launched an investigation and soon discovered another trail camera, rigged to explode in the same area. Their search led them to a man named Mark Sawaf, who was quickly identified as a suspect. A search of Mark's home uncovered all the materials needed to create the explosive devices, alongside a note ominously stating, "Broken camera for a broken soul." Mark was taken into custody, but more reports of explosive cameras were already coming in. In a bid to find the remaining devices, police took Mark back into the woods to identify other traps. However, while in the forest, Mark made a sudden move to grab an officer's pistol. In the resulting fight, he was fatally shot. Unfortunately, Mark never revealed the locations of the remaining rigged cameras. Authorities believe there could still be several more scattered within a 5-mile radius of those Kentucky woods, lying in wait for an unlucky discoverer. Number 17. Freezer. On April 26, 2021, a disturbing discovery was made in the woods of Anchorage, Alaska. Police received an eerie phone call from someone who had stumbled upon something chilling, an old freezer buried halfway in the ground. Curiosity turned to horror when they opened it and found a body inside. Authorities rushed to the scene, led deep into the forest from the nearby highway. Inside the freezer, they confirmed the gruesome discovery. The victim was identified as 67-year-old Michael Lynn Tefeteller, a man who lived nearby and led a solitary life. What's more worrying is that no one had seen or heard from him for 3 years, making the timeline of his death unclear. To this day, the cause of Michael's death remains unknown, and police have no leads on who could have committed this crime. Number 16. Horror in a suitcase. In July 2016, a construction worker was carrying out routine maintenance on a section of Interstate 985 in Georgia. During his shift, he took a short break and wandered into the nearby woods to relieve himself. About 80 yards in, something unusual caught his eye. Lying on the ground was a large suitcase, seemingly abandoned. Curiosity got the better of him, so he decided to unzip it, not prepared for the horror inside. As the zipper came undone, he was met with a gruesome sight, a human skull staring back at him. Shocked and terrified, the worker sprinted back to the highway to alert his supervisor, who immediately called the police. When authorities arrived and investigated the suitcase, they found a full set of human bones along with the skull. Forensic analysis later revealed the remains belonged to a woman in her 20s or 30s. It was estimated that she had died around 6 months before this grim discovery. Fast forward to 2019, and the police had a possible identity: Jessica Ashley Mancini. She had been reported missing by her mother long before the suitcase was found. However, how she ended up in that suitcase and who was responsible for her death remains a mystery to this day. Number 15. Skeleton of a missing man. In 2017, Ivan Klucharev, a 30-year-old man from Russia, set off for a solo hike in the secluded woods of the Shatura district near Moscow. It wasn't unusual for Ivan to embark on such adventures. He had a passion for the outdoors and loved testing his limits. But this time, something went terribly wrong. When Ivan didn't return as expected, his family grew concerned and reported his disappearance to the authorities. A search party scoured the dense forest, but after days of searching, they found nothing. Ivan had vanished without a trace. 2 years passed with no sign of Ivan, and hope faded. Then, in 2019, a hiker wandering through the same area made a bone-chilling discovery. Buried under a thick pile of leaves lay the remains of a human skeleton. Authorities were called, and through forensic analysis, they confirmed the skeleton was indeed Ivan. But it wasn't just the discovery of his remains that sent shivers down everyone's spine. It was what was found alongside them. Scattered around Ivan's decomposed body were numerous sets of handcuffs, locks, and chains. Some were tied to his remains, while others were attached to nearby trees. It appeared as though Ivan had been trying to free himself from a self-imposed trap. His tent was found nearby, further suggesting he had planned to stay in the area. Police speculated that Ivan had been attempting a dangerous escape stunt, inspired by Houdini-style challenges. His goal might have been to chain himself up and break free without assistance. However, this daring feat seemed to have gone horribly wrong. Yet, not everyone was convinced. Some theorized that Ivan's death was no accident. Could someone have staged the scene to make it look like a tragic misadventure? Despite these unsettling theories, the exact cause of Ivan's death remains undetermined. Number 14. Tongues nailed to trees. In 2009, Brooklyn's Prospect Park became the setting for a particularly eerie discovery. 15 cow tongues nailed to various trees. Found hanging about 6 feet off the ground, these tongues appeared to be fresh cuts from a butcher shop. A dog walker stumbled upon this bizarre scene, which then led to the Parks Department's involvement in removing the organs. What makes this discovery even more unsettling is its potential connection to ritual practices. Experts believe this act could be related to Santeria, an Afro-Cuban religion that incorporates elements of Christianity and West African beliefs. Dr. Miguel de la Torre, a specialist in Santeria, explained that nailing tongues to trees can be used in certain rituals aimed at silencing someone, similar to the concept of a voodoo doll. However, it's unclear whether this incident was a genuine Santeria ritual or someone imitating the practice. The tongues weren't just left randomly. They were strategically nailed to trees in a manner suggesting purpose or intent. Despite the association with Santeria, there were no other ritualistic items like candles or written names found at the scene, which adds to the mystery. Number 13. Devil's Tramping Ground. Deep in the woods near Harper's Crossroads in Bear Creek, North Carolina, lies a spot wrapped in mystery and legend. This place, known as the Devil's Tramping Ground, has intrigued and frightened locals for over a century. It's not your typical campsite. Here, there's a barren 40-foot-wide ring where nothing ever grows, and no one seems to know why. According to the eerie tales passed down through generations, this patch of earth is where the devil himself paces at night, plotting his next moves to spread evil in the world. The stories go that if you leave an object in the ring overnight, it mysteriously disappears by morning. Even animals seem to sense something off about this place. Dogs often refuse to go near it, acting skittish around the area. Daredevils who attempt to camp there report unsettling experiences, strange noises, eerie sensations, and an overwhelming feeling of dread have sent many running away before the night is through. Despite the fearsome reputation, some continue to visit, drawn by the lure of testing the legend for themselves. Number 12. Clothes. In March 2019, David Carota, his wife, their daughter, and some of her friends decided to explore a stretch of woodland behind their home in Bergen County, New Jersey. This area, tucked away near a major highway, seemed like an ordinary patch of forest until they stumbled upon something unexpected. Among the undergrowth, a glimpse of fabric caught their attention. As they got closer, they realized it was a pile of clothes: jeans, a bra, a t-shirt, and underwear. Curiosity quickly turned to unease when they picked up the garments. Each piece had been cut, suggesting they were forcibly removed. To make matters worse, there were stains that looked suspiciously like blood. Concerned and alarmed, they contacted the authorities right away, fearing the worst about what might have happened to the person these clothes belonged to. However, the investigation hit a dead end. The police couldn't match the clothing to any missing persons reports or crimes in the area. Without a link, the clothes couldn't be sent for further testing. Some have speculated that the cuts might have been made by paramedics treating someone, though in such cases, cleaning up afterward is standard practice. The origin and story behind these clothes remain a mystery, leaving locals wary of what might have transpired in those woods. Number 11. 114-year-old headstone. In December 2012, a hiker exploring a woodland area near Davenport in Santa Cruz, California, noticed a carved stone partially buried in the ground. Interestingly, He recalled seeing this peculiar stone over a decade earlier, but had never investigated it. This time, curiosity got the better of him, and upon closer inspection, he realized it was a headstone. He contacted the local Museum of Art and History, and that's when the story took an eerie turn. The headstone belonged to a woman named Mary Holmes, a local prostitute from the late 19th century. She was a well-known figure in the community, but led a difficult life. In 1897, she tragically ended her own life by consuming carbolic acid, dying publicly outside a saloon. Her funeral at the Evergreen Cemetery was well attended, with many mourners and floral tributes. But over the years, the cemetery fell into neglect, and numerous headstones, including Mary's, went missing. How Mary's headstone ended up in the woods, far from its original resting place, remains a mystery. Number 10. Family murder. In the summer of 1968, the serene woods near Lake Michigan held a dark secret. A group of women, enjoying a peaceful day at their lake house, were suddenly overwhelmed by a foul stench. The smell was so unbearable that it forced them to abandon their card game. They assumed it was a dead animal nearby and alerted their cabin's caretaker, Chauncey Bliss, to investigate the source of the odor. Chauncey ventured into the woods, following the foul scent, which led him to a cabin he managed about half a mile away. As he approached, an eerie silence hung in the air. Something felt off. Then, he noticed something strange. Holes in the cabin's windows. Looking through one of them, Chauncey saw the horrifying sight of a woman's remains lying on the floor. Behind her, more bodies were scattered in the same grim manner. He immediately called the police, who rushed to the scene. Inside the cabin, they discovered a gruesome scene. 6 bodies in total, every member of the Robison family. They had been dead for at least a month. The family had mentioned plans for a trip, so their absence hadn't raised any suspicions. The investigation yielded little evidence. The prime suspect was one of Mr. Robison's employees, but nothing concrete ever linked him to the crime. Over 55 years have passed since this chilling discovery, and the murders remain unsolved, leaving the woods near Lake Michigan haunted by this dark chapter. Number 9. Holocaust artifacts. During the dark era of the 1930s and 40s, the Nazi regime established over 1,000 concentration camps, each a site of unimaginable horror. Many of these places have since been preserved as museums, stark reminders of the atrocities committed. One such camp was located near the modern-day town of Stutowo in northern Poland. This was the first camp built outside of Germany, and its legacy is a grim one. Over 110,000 people were held there, with more than 85,000 believed to have been killed. Recently, a group of hikers exploring the woods miles away from the original campsite stumbled upon a chilling discovery. As they walked through the dense forest, they came across something buried in the dirt. Shoes, prison uniforms, belts, and other personal items, piled knee-high in some areas. These were not ordinary objects. They were relics from a dark past, almost certainly belonging to the prisoners of that camp. It's hard to fathom how these artifacts remained undisturbed for so many years. How they ended up scattered in the woods and what became of their owners will forever be a mystery. Number 8. Decaying dolls. South of central Mexico City lies a maze of waterways dotted with small, tree-covered islands. Among them is perhaps the most unsettling wooded area you could imagine, the Island of the Dolls. It earned this eerie name in the 1950s, when dolls started appearing all over the island, and the collection has only grown since. According to local legend, the island's caretaker, Don Julian Santana Barrera, began this peculiar tradition. The story goes that he witnessed a young girl drowning in one of the canals and believed he heard her ghost demanding her doll. In an attempt to appease her spirit, he hung a doll he found nearby in a tree. From that moment on, he continued collecting and displaying dolls in various states of decay, convinced it would calm the spirit. Now, hundreds of dolls hang from the trees and buildings, some missing limbs or eyes, covered in cobwebs, and swarming with insects. The sight alone is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Adding to the island's eerie vibe, Santana himself died in 2001 under mysterious circumstances, supposedly in the very spot where he claimed to have found the girl's body years earlier. Today, the island has become a horrific tourist attraction, drawing thousands who are brave enough to see this unsettling spectacle for themselves. Despite knowing what to expect, visitors often find the reality far more haunting than any legend. Number 7. Missing posters. James Rankin loved his hikes near home in Long Island, New York. They offered a peaceful escape, a chance to disconnect. But an October afternoon in 2016 changed everything. While trekking through the dense woods of Berkeley-Jackson County Park in Huntington, he stumbled upon a sight that sent chills down his spine. As he entered a small clearing, he was greeted by an eerie collection of missing person posters attached to the surrounding trees. Over a dozen of them, all from real cases in the New York area, and all recently printed and sealed in protective plastic. Most of the faces staring back at him were women, but a few were men. And in the center of it all, a bizarre shrine made of carefully arranged twigs sat ominously, like a grim monument. Panicked, Rankin immediately reported his find to the local police, fearing he might have discovered a serial killer's hideout or something equally sinister. What he learned, however, was quite different. The posters and the setup were actually part of preparations for an upcoming Halloween party. Within a few weeks, everything was taken down and removed. Even with the truth out in the open, the memory of that disturbing scene has left Rankin uneasy on his future hikes, always wary of what he might encounter next. Number 6. Face carvings. At first glance, Storrs Mill Woods near the town of Barnsley in England might seem like any other forest. The peaceful surroundings offer a tranquil escape. But look a little closer at the rocks and cliff edges, and you might start to feel like something is watching you. This unsettling feeling comes from the Cudworth stone faces, eerie carvings scattered throughout the area. Locals have passed down various stories about these mysterious faces. Some believe they were created by ancient druids thousands of years ago, intended to protect this spiritually significant site, seen as a gateway to the spirit world. Others claim they were carved by monks from a nearby abbey to safeguard travelers. There's even a tale suggesting they honor Viking warriors who defended the local villagers against unknown attackers. Despite these captivating legends, the truth is far less ancient. The carvings were actually made quite recently by two local artists, Melvin Dickinson and Billy Johnson. They created the faces as a modern art installation, but their unsettling expressions and hidden placement make for a startling encounter, especially if you're unaware of their origin. Before we move on, here's today's subscriber's pick. Deep within a quiet forest, a man stumbled upon something that defied explanation. From a distance, it appeared as just another lump among the shrubs, but as he drew closer, his heart raced and he froze in disbelief. What lay before him was unlike anything he had ever seen, a bizarre creature that resembled both a human and a tick. The creature's bloated body, reminiscent of a giant tick, was unsettling enough. But what truly shook him was the face, a hauntingly human-like expression, similar to that of a newborn. Ticks are usually tiny parasites that feed off blood, living in wooded or grassy areas, attaching themselves to animals or humans. But this was no ordinary tick. It was massive, far beyond the scale of anything natural. The man couldn't help but wonder if this was some kind of scientific experiment gone horribly wrong. Could something like this actually exist, or was it just a digital trick? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Number 5. Scary sign. Forests have a reputation for being isolated and eerie, often serving as the backdrop for unsettling events. Over the years, many dark stories have emerged from these secluded places, with some even involving violent crimes. One such mystery surfaced when a Reddit user found a haunting sign deep in the woods. The sign read, "In the river lies a girl. In the water swims her blood. This cryptic message left many wondering about its origin. Could it be a confession or a clue to something sinister hidden nearby? Most likely, it's part of a scavenger hunt or geocache puzzle meant to spook those who find it. Yet, despite its probable harmless intent, this sign undeniably adds a layer of creepiness to the forest's already mysterious atmosphere. Number 4. German hand grenade. Germany, with its history steeped in both world wars, often turns up remnants from those times. In fact, there's a specialized unit called the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Service that handles the daunting task of disarming unexploded bombs found across the country. They deal with these remnants so frequently that they defuse at least one bomb every 2 weeks. In April 2021, this team was called to a forest near the city of Passau, on Germany's border with Austria. A jogger had discovered a transparent bag hidden among the undergrowth. Inside, they noticed something that looked alarmingly like a German hand grenade. The bomb squad arrived and carefully examined the scene, preparing for the worst. However, what they found was far from expected. Upon closer inspection, the grenade turned out to be a rubber copy of a bomb, not an actual explosive device. Alongside it in the bag were some unusual items: a bottle of lubricant and a pack of condoms. Clearly, this wasn't the kind of war relic anyone was expecting. It seems that the find wasn't from a battlefield, but rather evidence of other activities in the woods. Number 3. Sacrificial altar. The jungles of Central and South America have long hidden secrets of ancient civilizations, with artifacts often discovered purely by accident. In 2018, one such eerie find was made near the Guatemalan border with Mexico. At first glance, it seemed to be just a stone tablet. However, it had been enveloped by a tree over centuries, with roots intricately wrapped around it. It took researchers nearly a year to carefully extract this artifact from the tree's grip. What they found was astonishing and a bit unsettling. Carved on this stone was the image of a previously unknown Mayan king named Chactoc, alongside a depiction of a double-headed serpent. This wasn't just any artifact. It was a Mayan altar dating back about 1,100 years. While it looked clean after being removed, this stone held a much darker history. It served as a sacrificial altar, likely the site of numerous human sacrifices. The stone, now seemingly harmless, was once a place where lives were offered in ancient rituals. Number 2. Pale creature. In 2018, a chilling video surfaced from the woods of Canada. It captured a moose calmly grazing, but just behind it, something far more unsettling appeared. The footage showed a pale, slender figure that many compared to Gollum from The Lord of the Rings. The person who filmed this eerie scene was at a loss to explain what they had witnessed. The creature, thankfully, only stared at the moose and didn't approach it. However, the mere presence of this bizarre entity raises questions. What was this pale figure, and how did it end up in the Canadian woods? Number 1. An alien. One November night in 2015, the skies above the San Francisco Bay Area were lit up by mysterious, fast-moving lights. Residents were captivated and alarmed, sparking a frenzy of UFO theories. As speculation ran wild, a local woman ventured into the nearby woods and made a startling discovery that added fuel to the fire. She found a strange, lifeless creature that seemed to deflate slightly after emitting a disturbing scream. She quickly shared a picture online, which only intensified the buzz about a possible alien encounter. Experts from around the globe were baffled, unable to identify what the creature was. While the idea of extraterrestrials was dismissed by many, the mystery remained. However, a more grounded explanation soon emerged. The lights in the sky were identified as test launches of Trident nuclear missile systems, accompanied by loud explosions. The creature found in the woods was likely the fetus of a deer or cow. It's possible the mother had been so frightened by the lights and sounds that it suffered a miscarriage. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.